The honourable member for Calgary-Elbow.
Mr. Speaker, this week the Premier arrogantly proclaimed the federal cabinet and approval combined with the National Energy Board guarantees shovels will be in the ground on Kinder Morgan. That would be nice, but her BC siblings promised to block the project. The Northern Gateway Pipeline also had cabinet and NEB approvals, and where's that project today? Nowhere. To the Premier, with your BC NDP and Greens prepared to go to war against this project, what makes you think these two approvals from the feds add up to a guarantee when this has not been the case till now?
Question.
The honourable Premier.
Well, you know, Mr. Speaker, ultimately the failure of other pipelines that had approval ultimately came down to the courts, and the court saying, you know what, when you ram stuff through without accommodating Indigenous interests, without considering environmental issues, without talking to the communities, then the thing ain't going to fly. And that's what happened under their cousin's federal system that was in place before. Mr. Speaker, that is not, in my view, what happened this time. I think that those issues have been properly addressed, both by the NEB process, as well by the subsequent process, and by the Cabinet's review. And I suspect that we'll find that the courts support that view, and we'll get it.
Thank you, honourable Premier. First supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, here's what did happen. The Premier did not campaign on a carbon tax, but she did campaign on killing Northern Gateway, which died despite NEB and federal approvals. After she blindsided Albertans with that carbon tax, she justified it with the promise of mythical social license to convince BC eco warriors to support the project. The BC wing of the Premier's party made it clear that nothing will buy social license. To the Premier, will you now admit you have no social license even with your family, and that you sold Albertans a bill of goods when you rammed the carbon tax down their throats?
The honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I will proclaim with great pride is that we have a climate leadership plan that enjoys the support of industry, that enjoys the support of Indigenous people, that enjoys the support of the environmental community. This is a climate change leadership plan that will create jobs, it will support diversification of the economy, and it will also, wait for it, reduce emissions, something which the previous government failed to take into account at all. So, Mr. Speaker, we did that, and in addition, we delinked emissions from pipeline construction, and that is a fundamental argument that we have made and we will continue to make.
Thank you, honourable Premier. Thank you. Second supplemental.
The Premier's plan doesn't even have NDP support outside of Alberta.
That's right.
It's now proven that Albertans can't bank on federal and NEB approvals alone to be enough. For this government to suggest otherwise is willful ignorance. On this side of the House, we want this project to succeed.
That's right.
We want to see shovels in the ground.
That's right.
But there is no reasoning with the eco warriors who now call the shots in BC. To the Premier, do you now regret opposing Northern Gateway, and do you have any real plan to get Kinder Morgan's shovels in the ground?
Good question.
It is getting built.
The honourable Premier.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. What I don't plan to do is talk down the chances for Alberta's growth, talk down the fact that Alberta is actually a great place to invest, try to discourage people to come here by telling them the sky is falling when it's really not. All the kinds of politically motivated things that we see from those guys over there and those guys over there. They're so interested in their own political success that all they want to do is see economic failure for Albertans. Thank God Albertans have a government that's actually standing up for them, that wants to see them prosper, that wants to create more jobs, and you know what, Mr. Speaker, is succeeding on that.